everyone. Welcome to the cottage. I'm so happy you're here with me. We are having another episode of my Celtic Tree Ogham series, and we are on the second branch. The second branch is called the branch of gaining wisdom. And I kind of love that because now that we're on to the second branch, we are gaining wisdom because after the 5 trees of the first branch, the branch of beginnings, we're starting to get a hang of how all these trees kind of work and build upon each other. So I kind of love that. It's kind of got a double meaning. So we are on to the lefties. These are the one to the left. So these, all of 5 trees are going to be just like the right-sided. They're all going to be on the left-hand side. So we're on to Huath, Huath, and it's pronounced Huath. So one to the left here. So this tree is so beautiful. I loved finding all the beautiful trees. It can be a bit gnarly and twisty, which is fine. But you know, that's part of its beauty. Okay, so the folk names, we actually have some folk names for this tree. You may have heard the hawthorn called whitethorn, or the mayflower, probably one of its most famous, the may tree, the hawthorn, or the thorn apple. So it is a peasant tree in Brayan law, and it's always connected to the fairies and considered highly sacred in many communities across Britain and Ireland. So sacred that, as we learn, there are consequences, and that will be foretold very soon in my notes. Yeah. You just don't go chopping down a tree this beautiful, without consequences. So one of the most famous tales involving the hawthorn is that of Thomas the Rhymer. And he actually met his bride, the Queen of Elfland, beneath a hawthorn tree. And I love that legend. I think it's so beautiful. When I looked this up, I was just like, oh, that's so special. And so I just thought that was beautiful. And because of its connection with fairies, severe penalties are thought to be imposed on anyone who violates the tree in any way. In any way. And it is often associated with periods of testing and challenges. So if you remember nothing about this tree, remember testing and challenges are going to be your key words to remember with this tree. So hawthorns are often guardians of sacred springs and wells. They demand the very best behavior from all mortals who are in their presence. It's almost as if they're watching you. Hawthorn's guardianship is the reason for the tree's association with the festival of Beltane, which takes place on May 1st. As its flower, they flower during this season, and it's traditionally used as the crown for the May Queen, and that is a personification of the goddess. So if you're crowned the May Queen, it is such high honors for Beltane. It's like you win that Sabbath. Like if you are crowned May Queen, you win Beltane. It's so very, very, very honorable. Now, the hawthorn teaches that the Queen of the May is not easily won. Think testing and challenges, right? And can only ever wed the Oak King. Now, the ancient mystery teaching concerns the attainment of inner sovereignty and worthiness. That's the union of the goddess. And to win her as your beautiful bride entails successful completion of many tasks and the surmounting of seemingly impossible challenges. The prize is the goddess herself, the sacredness of the land, and the highest possible achievement and honor. They take it really, really seriously. Now, the hawthorn berries are good for all things related to the heart, but reflecting that the great mother, as well as the maiden bride and the crone, are symbolized here. Now, despite the challenges that the hawthorn represents, it is also highly protective of the small animals that shelter in its thicket, as well as all people suffering vulnerability of any kind. It is sacred not only to brides and virgins, but women in childbirth as well, who are all protected by its fierce thorns, physically or magically. Now, in the Arthurian sagas, it's a story about Sir Gawain marrying a hag called Dame Ragnell. He must answer the riddle, what does a woman truly want? Well, the answer is sovereignty over herself. Now, when Gawain accepts his bride's right to her own self-determination, she changes into a beautiful maiden. And this is the lesson of the hawthorn. The law of sacredness demands respect. So, to get to the beautiful flowers and berries, you got to go through some thorns, right? Exactly. Now, hawthorns are sacred to the Roman goddess Cardia, who is symbolized by the hawthorn itself. It's the goddess of doorways and weddings. And it is said that Cardia will not bless a marriage if the groom has not made sufficient sacrifices or passed sufficient challenges to be worthy of his bride. And she is also the goddess of doorways, because to pass the tests of the hawthorn is to pass through into another phase of life. So I thought that was interesting. Now, hawthorn has another role in her crone aspect, as her great energy has been traditionally used to clear negative energy. It used to be traditional to plant hawthorns near to where an accident or death has occurred to remove the negative influence on the land. It is sacred to Macha, crone goddess, an aspect of the Morrigan. The water used to wash a dead body was also sometimes taken and poured on the roots of hawthorn trees. This may have been done in hopes that the regenerative energy would support and regenerate the spirits of the dead. I kind of love that tradition. You know, being a witch myself, I truly believe that death is not the end. And I just love that regeneration, regenerative energy, that pouring that water that was used to wash the dead onto the roots. I just love that thought. Now, in Ireland today, the hawthorn is still respected as a tree of enchantment under the protection of the fairy realms. Now, should you sit under a hawthorn on a fairy hill on May 1st, you are liable to be whisked away for good to fairyland. That is up to you whether or not you want to try that. I kind of do, just a little bit. I'm up to the challenge. Now, lone hawthorns are a common sight in fields and on burial mounds all over Ireland. And to fell one is said to result in the loss of your cattle and all your money and even the death of your children. Now, I love this story. Now, when DeLorean set up his car factory in Ireland, there was a lone hawthorn standing in the center of the site that the builders refused to restore. They said, "Oh no, I'm not doing that." They knew the lore, they knew the sacredness. But DeLorean himself, the owner, bulldozed it to the ground himself. Yeah. And there was little surprise among his workers when the car plant turned out to be a total disaster. And his family was sick, got sick, and I mean, it was pretty bad. And well, have you seen any DeLoreans around? No. So there you go. Oh, the DeLorean, rest in peace. Well, you know, I mean, it just goes to show, if you don't listen to the lore and you don't pay attention, you know, if you all your workers say, "No way, I'm not doing that," and you know, you don't listen, bad things happen. Just saying. Okay, on to practical and magical uses. Now, because hawthorn flowers are associated with Beltane, and as such to marriages and sacred unions, they are therefore useful in love spells where the seeker intends to attract a suitable life partner. The flowers are also useful for assisting in connecting with all gods and goddesses of spring, helping women improve their self-image and self-esteem, and for men, the connection grants courage in love. An old country charm was for young women to break a twig. I don't suggest doing that. No, you'll be nice to these trees. But you would break a twig of a newly flowered hawthorn, but leave it hanging. And overnight, she would dream of her future husband. Now, if the twig was found the next day, it could then be used in a love spell to draw him near. But again, I don't know if I'd be breaking off a twig or even pulling a flower or a berry. I don't know. I would be extra nice to this tree. Now, hawthorns are intimately associated with healing and are often found growing next to holy wells, such as the one at Madron in Cornwall, named after Modron, a Welsh mother goddess. These hawthorns are dressed with clooties, which are one of my favorite words to say. I just love saying clootie. They're dressed with clooties, and they are known in the West Country, strips of cloth used as a sort of transference spell. So you would take these cloths and you would bathe the sick in these cloths, and then you would dip them in the healing water, and then you would transfer them onto the tree. And as legend goes, since trees are much stronger than people, it would transfer the sickness to the tree because the tree could take it. They're stronger than us. Isn't that beautiful? Like, you know, you can just, the tree's like, "I got you." And they would just take the sickness because they can handle it. And then the child would be healed. And I just think that is so beautiful. But a caveat here, the strips would need to be made of natural fibers. You don't want anything synthetic or anything like that had anything that wouldn't biodegrade. You know, you want to be careful what you tie to a tree. You know, you don't want anything that's going to be there in 20 years. You want something that's going to naturally just, you know, degrade and then eventually just be gone soon. So just be careful what you tie to the tree. We want to be nice to these trees. Again, I cannot reiterate enough to be nice to these trees. As sacred fairy sites, hawthorn trees near wells and natural springs are places where the veil between the worlds is and the interchange between the mortal and the spirit world is possible. So it's very thin. There are places of great earth energy where the soul of the earth herself rises to the surface with the water. As such, they are excellent places to perform divination, healing magic, or to develop a relationship with the genius loci, or spirit of place. I love communing with the genius loci wherever I go. Wherever I travel, I like to get to know the spirit of place. And it's very, very easy. You just sit down and you just kind of tune in. You get to know the place. You're like, hi, I'm Joey. I'd like to greet the spirit of place. And they will or they won't. And it's a definite like, heck yes or heck no, in my experience. I have only got a heck no once, and I'd be like, okay, well, we're moving on. And that's about it. I've never felt like attacked or anything. It's just been like, no, thank you. But it's been quite an experience getting to know those places. So such places usually have powerful spirit guardians. Oh yeah. And while sitting in quiet meditation or embarking on a shamanic journey, it is possible to learn much from these beings. An old technique is to just sit quietly beneath the hawthorn's branches and rest your eyes upon the water. In time, you may feel a presence or get a flash in your mind's eye as the tree or the local guardian. Sometimes this is one and the same being. I found that to be true. Makes contact with you. Tread slowly if you wish to do this kind of work. Always thank the spirit and show great respect to it and its sacred domain. I've always left an offering. And really it could be cleaning up. Like if there's any trash or anything, I've cleaned up the trash, or it can even be some kind words, or even your energy can be a nice gift of an offering. Hawthorn trees, a fallen twig, never broken or cut, or a chain of hawthorn berries make excellent protection for animals and the beds of children and pregnant women. And when magically charged, it eases fears and anxieties and helps heal broken hearts. In Cornwall, a clod of earth and a sprig of hawthorn used to be placed upon each boundary stone as protection and to magically guard the territory. Hawthorn hedges work in a similar way, being practical as well as magically protective. Sprigs of hawthorn can be placed around your home or at the boundaries of your land to draw on this protective energy. You can also just write the Ogham on a slip of paper and bury that. Don't forget, the stave can substitute for anything. All right, so it's okay if you don't have an actual piece of hawthorn. Don't forget you have your sigil. All right. Let's see. And hawthorn trees can be grown and their spirits befriended for the same purpose. The hawthorn makes excellent hedging as it is durable, hardy, and quick growing, and because it supports a vast array of life, providing food and shelter to numerous animals and insects. Hawthorn bark makes a good black dye, and the berries are delicious. They are often made into teas, jellies, and chutneys that are usually eaten with cheese or meats. Now, really quick, if you want to know more about the berries themselves, I did an entire video on my Magickal plant series that I will link in the comments. Entire video on the lore, the medicinal and magical properties of hawthorn berries. So I'll put that down in the description box. All right, here are your linked concepts that are going to be your key to working with the hawthorn. Fairies, tests and challenges, sovereignty, protection, sacredness, love and unions, and healing. Those are going to be your keywords to remember that when you're doing spell work, you can add your hawthorn sigil or any parts of a hawthorn tree. All right, correspondences. Your elements are going to be fire and air. Zodiac is going to be your Aries, Aquarius, Gemini, and Taurus. Your deities are going to be Macha, Bloodwed, Hern, Kronos, Brigid, the Dagda, Flora, Frigg, Thor, and Zeus. Your color is purple. You can kind of see mine is purple a little bit. Totems are going to be your white stag, your unicorn, your goat, dragon, blackbird, cuckoo, owl, wolf, and ram. Your calendar, March 21st to April 17th, the 6th lunation, or the month of April. So your related species, guess what, guys? Anything related to the rose. So, Joey, can I use rose instead of hawthorn? Of course you can. There you go. Or any other large genus of thorny shrubs or small trees. So I have a fire thorn that I use in replace of hawthorn sometimes. So there you go. Easy peasy. All right. On to healing. So the flowers, leaves, and berries of the hawthorn have properties that reduce blood pressure and stimulate the heart, and which also act as a mild sedative. They are used in herbal medicine to treat heart and circulatory disorders, migraine, angina, menopausal conditions, and insomnia. The flowers have the strongest medicinal action. Their excellent sedative effects are used to help people who suffer from angina and palpitations. The berries contain both vitamin B complex and vitamin C. Crushed and dried, the berries are used by herbalists in decoctions to ease diarrhea, dysentery, and kidney disorders. A decoction made from the flowers may safely be used externally to help pimples and other skin blemishes. Now, as a vibrational essence, the hawthorn lends courage through difficulties and creates movement through stuck emotions or repressed desires, instilling fresh emotional energy. It opens the heart to pleasure and intimacy, and it helps individuals lose fears of commitment. It lends energy to become grounded and more present, manifesting primal life force. So, I mean, that's awesome. Okay, on to divination. We'll use this bag. I just love this bag, you guys. I don't remember where I got it either. So, if you draw this one upright, It's a challenge in both positive and or difficult ways. Remember, testing and challenges, right? A surge in energy to rise to the test. So you've got the energy to handle the testing. Even if you fail, you will be closer to the goal than before. So, maybe you lose, but hey, you made it through, right? Hawthorn leaves you changed, transformed into something more real, honorable, and capable than before. It shows you the truth of your heart. That truth may not always be pleasant, but is always worthwhile. You're encouraged to consider your boundaries and remember to respect the boundaries of others in equal measure. It can signify love, union, and connection with the goddess if your heart is ready. Now, roots up, reversed, a test or challenge that you are not prepared for. Weak or lack of boundaries, no respect for others' boundaries, denial of the truth of what is inside your heart, and unrequited love or partnership. So, we want it to be upright. Even if you lose, you're prepared, but this, you didn't even train. All right. So that was Hawthorn. So please give this video a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss upcoming. The next one is the oak. So that is going to be a very strong and heavy tree. So yeah, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss that. Please visit my website at theveiledcottagewitch.com so you can book a reading, book a class, book a service, shop my online store where you can find holistic healing products or ritual and spell aids. Just remember at checkout to put in the code word, all caps veiled, to get your free shipping. That's only available through YouTube, and my gift from me to you just for watching this video. So I appreciate you doing that. I appreciate everything. If you'd like to financially support this channel, give a little back, that'd be awesome. You could just buy me a coffee. All the details are down below, or you can just scan this QR code right here, but absolutely no pressure. Just live your best life and live for yourself. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.